Good morning. I'm gaining momentum and excitement on this project. So even though I don't have the audio fully figured out and uh, I'm still in the process of figuring out what editing needs to happen, should happen, how it can happen, uh, I'm passionate about this project of getting this video series up and moving. And so even though I only have a few things in order, I'm going to continue. So today we're going to be continuing in The Monastic Heart by Sister Joan Chittister. Last video we read Bells, chapter 1, and today we're going to be starting on chapter 2, which is called Statio. Statio is spelled Statio. It is Latin. I believe it is Latin for space. Uh, let's read her words together. I encourage you to ground yourself where you are. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel yourself sitting in your chair or on your couch or on your bed. Take a deep breath in and release it, allowing all the muscles in your head and your face and your neck and your shoulders and your arms to relax. Let's have a moment of peace and listening and reflection together. Statio, on involvement. There is more to the spiritual life than keeping a schedule of religious events. Merely attending such spiritual exercises is not enough. We must take our whole selves there, mind and heart, as well as our bodies. And we must be there 5 minutes before prayer starts. I hadn't been long in the monastery until I noticed a basic logistical fallacy. The bell for the various segments of prayer rang at the proper hour, but, the novice director told us, we were to be in chapel 5 minutes before the bell rang. What? Statio is being where you are supposed to be before you need to go there. In monastic parlance, it is about being consciously committed to what you are there to do, so that your mind isn't partially distracted by the thing you just left behind. It requires you to get ready for one of these central moments of your spiritual life, to concentrate on the things of God, to leave behind for a while the distractions of the day. It enables us to separate ourselves from one thing entirely before we start another one, with half ourselves still concentrated on the thing we left behind. Monastic statio, going to chapel to get ready for prayer before prayer starts, is one of the important things in monastic life. Being prepared, conscious, alert, ready, centered, and there, early, is the lesson of a lifetime. We learn that to concentrate on words and phrases we've said for years is the beginning of spiritual maturity. It is a model of the manner of spiritual growth that develops a layer, one insight at a time. It is the call to the person with a monastic heart to realize that we are about to do something life-changing, something that will take more than simple assent. It takes putting our hearts and our minds into the part of our lives, one monastic prayer period at a time, that will shape us over the years until we are one with it at all times, not just at prayer times. It takes concentration on what we are about to do. It takes a commitment of time, of involvement, of special attention. Mine. But the consequences of community statio don't stop with prayer periods. It's so easy to slough off the little things of life, like sending in the absentee voting form or signing on to a recommendation for more teachers' aides in the schools. We support it. We just don't do anything tangible to prove that. We're busy with other things. We stop thinking about it the minute it's over. We go to meetings, but we don't take the time to prepare for them. Oof. We don't follow up on the decisions that were made in them. We don't think the proposals through before the next meeting. We lack statio, concentration, preparation, serious commitment to serious things. Statio, giving my whole self to the present moment, is an exercise in consciousness. It means not running in and out of an event just to prove that I was there, that I went because it was on the calendar, but not because I intend to give my best to climbing the summit at hand. Statio, stopping to collect our hearts and minds before we begin something new, is the sign that we know we are about to do the will of God for the world. We know that we must not go at it when we are scattered apart. We will not shirk our engagement. We will not go unprepared to do our best. In spiritual language, the meaning is clear. We must give our whole selves to the spiritual meaning of the moment. Statio is not simply about making time for spiritual reflection. On the contrary, it's about really being where we are, conscious and committed, when we go. It's about living consciously, whatever we do, whoever we are. So much in the pressured personal life of this era is done on the run. It is done while doing something else. It is done while doing something else, like checking our email or making business calls from the car. Instead, Statio is not only about being where we are, it's about getting there early and centering ourselves consciously. It's about giving myself the time I need to grieve the loss of the beloved uncle or mentor or friend who died from the virus, not from old age. Death is a lesson in life that I need to absorb. Simply being active is not life. Statio tells me to take the time to think things over, to think things through, to stop rushing from one aimless remark to another, to know where I am, to think about what I'm doing. It tells us that we are here to create our lives, not to script them as if one page of patter fits all. Modern culture, on the other hand, rushes us from one activity to another, which, unfortunately, can become an excuse to let the hard moments of life go by, unattended, unthought out. Monastics give time to concentrating the soul on the very process of prayer, so that prayer itself may shape us into real human beings. To notice the tears of another and stop to dry them, to hear the despair in a sibling's voice and care enough to ask what is wrong, is the statio of our lives. Little by little, we begin to learn it by being serious about the statio that precedes prayers. It teaches us to focus on the important dimensions of life. Anything else is to turn ourselves into automatons without a soul. Oof. Integrating the practice. Statio is the monastic gift of taking a deep breath between things, going into the next personal encounter centered, quiet, and gathered of mind and heart. It calls you to calm down, to sink into the spiritual life of all your heart, all your mind, and all the layers of the soul. It calls you to learn to be where you are, to stop checking the time here so that we can get there as quickly as possible, and so miss everything that's going on here, right now. Gathering yourself between the major moments of life calls you to decant yourself. Love that. It teaches you to enjoy the emptiness of time rather than simply fill it with a ritual. It asks you to be present to your own needs and trust the God who will now guide you from within. It asks you to become a fully human being in a world that has learned to recite the texts of the moment rather than to bring honest sensitivity to every prayer segment of the day. Learning to calm your heart before striking out in emotional darkness is one of the most important dimensions of every response in life. I have to mark next to that, excuse me. Learning to calm your heart before striking out in emotional darkness is one of the most important dimensions of every response. It's the lack of statio, of sober consideration of what's happening, that starts road rage. It's the lack of the spirit of statio that turns misunderstandings into lifelong enmities. Enmities? It's the lack of internal quiet and focus that sends you into confusion of thought and chaos of soul. Yoga is meant to concentrate you. Meditation is meant to center you. And statio is meant to take you down into a depth of spirit so that you bring every bit of yourself to the moment at hand. It takes you into the well of life where you can find the best of yourself in the midst of the melee of modern noise, the blare of horns, the burst of sirens. For the average person, Statio is not about being in chapel 5 minutes before vespers. Instead, it's more than likely it's about attending to the world around you. It's about more than saying you're concerned about what is happening to vulnerable members of the population. It's about taking time to study the issues. It's about getting ready to continue the conversation so that those who have no voice have yours. So that those who have no voice have yours. It's wild. Sister Joan always includes at the very end 1 to 2 sentences of the things she really wants to stick for for her readers. Statio, giving your whole self to the present moment, is an exercise in consciousness. Statio, stopping to collect your heart and mind before you begin something, is the sign that you know you are about to do the will of God for the world. It is interesting to consider how Statio is different from bells, which I read about yesterday. The practice of bells is taking the time to be present to God, whereas the practice of Statio is the practice of making sure you are ready to give attention to God. And Sister Joan is taking this concept and she's expanding it beyond the boundaries of the monastic experience. For those of us with day jobs, perhaps this is a practice like what I mentioned in the last video of arriving to work a half hour early. or less. Perhaps it's only 5 or 10 minutes in order that you bring the best version of yourself into your work. Again, like I mentioned last time, being more concerned with who you are than what you do. I think in the Priory, there is not a lot of explicit Statio. Uh, we are a monastic experiment of non-denominational, ecumenical people. There are only 9 of us, not counting the children, the dogs, and the cats. Uh, and our mission is to hold space for one another and to be safe and secure for one another. I think that we rely very heavily on our practice of morning prayer and on our practice of weekly evening prayer. We have yet to establish a daily routine of evening prayer. Um, but I will say that for morning prayer, we meet at 6:30, but we don't begin until 6:45. And the initial reason for that was we wanted to have all of our various hot beverages distributed before we began praying. Because what was happening was we would meet, we would start the coffee machine running, and it would be loud and noisy and distract us from the work of prayer. And so we have begun taking 15 minutes to gather and sit blearily with one another and our coffee before beginning the work of prayer. And we're still getting used to it. It's a different practice. But the concept of Statio, as articulated by Sister Joan here, inspires me to be much more intentional about those 15 minutes. Yeah. I wonder what portions of this reading struck you. I wonder what areas of margin you could create in the busyness of your life between meetings and dropping off kids and running to and from work. I wonder if setting your alarm 5 minutes earlier than normal so that you have a moment to sit with your coffee before beginning the day could be a moment of intentionality, of bringing your full self to whatever is next in your schedule. Well, I've managed to shave 3 minutes off of the time on these videos. I was hoping for more. Uh, but at the end of the day, the reading itself takes 10 minutes. My goal is for these videos to take 15 total. Uh, Peace to you. Carve out Statio in your life today. Be well.